Number 9. The Great Deception. In April 2023, Indonesian authorities asked that a Brazilian teenager be taken into custody for smuggling drugs into Bali. 19-year-old Manuela Vitória de Uragu Farias claimed that she was tricked by a criminal gang when 6.6 pounds of cocaine were found in her luggage when she came to Bali back in January. Farias flew to the island from Brazil, but the illicit drugs were not detected until she landed. The prosecution said that Farias was involved with a drug gang and had planned to smuggle the cocaine into Bali for distribution. But her lawyer, Dani Lira da Silva, argued that Farias traveled to the island getaway to visit the temples where monks pray for the sick, since her mother had recently suffered from a stroke. Her legal team was firm on the fact that Farias planned to seek Buddhist prayers for her ill mother's recovery. Da Silva claimed that the suspect was manipulated into going along with the gang's order, since they got her to believe that the temples would heal her mother. Farias worked as a saleswoman, specializing in lingerie and perfume. Her defense team says that the criminal gang promised to cover the cost of surf lessons for Farias once she landed in Indonesia. Since her arrival, Farias has stayed in custody and has been charged with international drug trafficking. Prosecutors recently demanded the maximum penalty for her, which includes either death by firing squad or life imprisonment. Even if Farias manages to evade a firing squad, she could still be imprisoned for life. Number 8. Eternal Sleep. On April 29, 2019, a woman in South Salt Lake, Utah, was arrested for trying to kill her 50-year-old boyfriend. The attempt was made by feeding him a spoonful of Drano. 43-year-old Ella Yoshio Weissman was hoping her lover would never wake up again. After the arrest, there was a thorough investigation into the incident. Local news outlet KSL reported that Weissman admitted that she wanted to take the life of her boyfriend by giving him Drano, which is a highly corrosive cleaner for drains. She said that her motive was for him to experience what she called eternal sleep. Weissman acknowledged that Drano was lethal and that she knew what could happen once she gave it to her lover. At the time of the incident, the victim was in a partially asleep state. He trusted Weissman and believed she was giving him his typical medication, but shortly after drinking the toxic liquid, he experienced excruciating pain. That's when Weissman asked for a car service to take him to an urgent care facility, which automatically alerted the authorities to the situation. 4 days later, the victim was still hospitalized, dealing with the aftermath of the planned poisoning. Drano, the substance involved in this upsetting case, contains sodium hydroxide, a highly corrosive chemical compound commonly referred to as lye. Ingestion of Drano can have a lot of deadly side effects. The exact motive behind this crime was unknown, and no developments on the case have been shared since then. As of the last update, Weissman was facing charges of attempted murder and administration of a harmful substance. Her bail was set at $100,000 as she awaits the next steps of her case. Number 7. Fatal Unfaithfulness. On March 17, 2022, the remains of a man were discovered buried in the garden of a Northamptonshire couple. The prosecution said that on November 1, 2021, 49-year-old Fiona Beale convinced her partner, 42-year-old Nicholas Bellingham, that they would be intimate that night. She made him wear an eye mask before fatally stabbing him with a knife she had hidden beneath her nightgown. Beale believed that her partner was cheating on her, so she got revenge. After the murder, Beale wrapped Bellingham's body in trash bags, sheets, and some cable ties before burying him under layers of soil and bark in their garden. The crime wasn't noticed until police responded to a call that said that Beale was trying to hurt herself. After this, they found a journal where she confessed to the crime. Interestingly, she convinced herself that an alter ego named Tulip22 had planned and carried out the attack. Fiona Beale was a schoolteacher, and during her trial, the court heard testimony from her neighbor, who said she was bubbly and cheerful in the weeks leading up to the crime. The neighbor, Ellen Warren, said that the killer seemed happy before the death of her partner in November 2021. Ellen never saw it coming. She mentioned some interactions between her husband and Bellingham, describing him as a helpful neighbor. They would often engage in small talk every time he washed his car. She remembered a period in the fall of 2021 when the energy between the couple seemed positive, with happy conversations and jokes. But Beale visited Ellen's house before Christmas and cried while telling her that Bellingham was being unfaithful. Ellen offered advice and encouraged her to leave him. She invited Beale back for Christmas Day drinks, but she never came. After that, it's believed that Beale started planning her husband's death. She admitted to killing Bellingham, but denies the charge of murder, claiming that she was mentally broken at the time she committed the crime. As of now, the trial is still ongoing, and Beale is in custody awaiting her sentence. Number 6. Fortune teller scam. In December 2022, a few distressed mothers claimed that they had been scammed by a fortune teller who swindled them out of large amounts of money. The suspect apparently convinced them that they were cursed. The criminal goes by the name Pandith Valmiki Krishna, and he operates a fortune-telling business in Sydney. His disturbing practices recently came to light when he told one woman she needed to pay him $23,000 and another $34,000, promising to rid her and her whole family of their evil spirits. Two of the people affected by his practices were single mothers of 3, Panum and Samjana. Both are actively trying to recover all the money they lost after seeking Krishna's help. Panum's dilemma started after she went through a divorce and a car accident. Looking for answers and hoping for an end to her trail of bad luck, she went to the fortune teller with her mother, willing to pay $30 for a hand reading. But this innocent encounter quickly spiraled into a stressful situation. Krishna told her that she had a bad curse thanks to black magic. According to him, the curse needed to be removed, or else her children's lives were in grave danger. After being frightened, she was convinced to pay $830 to have the curse lifted. But then, Krishna insisted that he and his associate go to her house to remove the evil spirits. Instead of performing a genuine cleansing, the duo put on a stage act using fake blood and lemons. After that, they asked for $21,000, which they told her was necessary for the process to be fully successful. She told them she couldn't handle such a large amount of money all at once, but instead of taking no for an answer, they told her to sell her car, jewelry, and other possessions. They asked her if the money is more important to her than her children. After that, she was convinced. After being confronted by Panum and an investigative team from Channel 9, Krishna denied, saying that the woman's children were in danger. He insisted that he never made any promise he could not fulfill. Despite telling the victim that he would repay the money to her, he only returned $12,000 and told her he would pay the rest of the money in a month. When that month passed by, Panum realized that Krishna's store had shut down and her thousands of dollars were likely lost. On the other hand, Samjana, another victim of Krishna's lies, found herself in a similar situation. According to her, she paid his business $34,000 after she was told her husband and son were going to die. The fortune teller and his assistant carried out the same deceptive tactics at her home, spilling fake blood on her carpet. When the woman tried to find Krishna again at his stall, she discovered that he had disappeared into thin air. The businesses next door confirmed that he had packed up and left. No one knew where he was. Both Panum and Samjana said that Krishna had been incredibly evasive, ignoring their calls or using other tactics to avoid talking to them. They could not even find justice through the police, since they were told that the case fell under the jurisdiction of fair trading. There were multiple efforts to reach out to Krishna for comment, including contact with one of his business associates, but every phone call disconnected. As of yet, no trace of Pandith Valmiki Krishna has been discovered. Number 5. The legal loophole. In February 2017, a college student from Indiana was assaulted by her boyfriend's friend, but thanks to a legal loophole, she never got the justice she deserved. A freshman at Purdue University, Abigail Finney, fell asleep in her boyfriend's dorm room. When she woke up, she realized that someone was groping her from behind. In her half-awake state, she thought that it was simply her partner trying to be intimate, so they had sex. Because of the darkness in the room and her unwillingness to turn around, she never actually saw the person's face. After a short while, Finney got up to use the bathroom, and when she came back, she found her boyfriend's friend, Donald Grant Ward, lying in bed where she was sleeping. He was grinning at her, leaving her in a shocked state. She asked the others in the room where her boyfriend was, thinking this was some kind of twisted prank, but no one knew where he was. Finney immediately went back to her own room after this and told her boyfriend what happened. He confronted Ward, and the couple went to the police, who launched an investigation into the matter. During questioning, Ward admitted that he knew Finney thought he was her boyfriend, but continued his misleading advances anyway. The police charged him with 2 counts of sexual assault in February 2017. But thanks to shoddy legal definitions of what happened in Indiana and 40 other states, including New York, there was a significant obstacle in the trial. According to state law, consent itself is not explicitly defined, leaving a gaping hole in the case. Ward stood trial, going through 2 days of testimony before he was let go. The charge was eventually removed from his record, leaving Finney devastated. She has since battled extreme anxiety and reoccurring nightmares, and even had to take time off from school to prioritize her mental well-being. Not only did the trial fail to bring her justice, but it became an entire second trauma for her. Ward was never punished for the crime and walks free to this day. What do you think about this case? Let us know in the comments, and hit subscribe while you're at it. Number 4. 9 criminals imprisoned. On April 16, 2021, a woman was lured to a mall and tortured before being killed. 9 members of a drug trafficking organization have pleaded guilty in connection to the brutal murder of 37-year-old Rosanna Delgado, a mother of 2 from Atlanta. Delgado worked as a rideshare driver and was brought to the Plaza Fiesta Mall in DeKalb County under the pretense of a simple shopping trip. She was then tortured over multiple days leading up to her death. Afterwards, the killer dismembered her body. Her remains were later buried at a cabin in Gilmer County. The investigation, led by Allison Sotheby, revealed that the cabin was rented out through an online vacation platform using a fake identity. The nature of Delgado's connection to the drug gang members is not clear, but the evidence suggested that her murder was planned in advance. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation clarified that the perpetrators hid and destroyed evidence of the crime, while some associates of the organization helped arrange transport for other members to escape to Mexico in order to evade arrest. On the day she was kidnapped, Delgado spoke with her husband, Yoni Castro, and told him she was dropping off her last passenger before returning home. When she failed to come back, Castro retraced her movements through her phone's records and discovered a bloody face mask at one of the locations she was taken to. That's when he contacted police officers to report a possible crime. In May 2021, 3 suspects named Oscar Garcia, Megan Colon, and Juan Antonio Vega were finally arrested in Reynosa, Mexico. Another suspect, Juan Alaya Rodriguez, was picked up in Durango, Mexico about a month later, after which he was extradited back to the United States. 5 more suspects, including Eva Galicia Martinez, Terry Amanda Garner, Patrick Harvard, Calvin Harvard, and Sean Calloway, were arrested at various stages of the investigation. But 3 individuals, Mario Elbert Badosa Juarez, Carolina Jasmine Rodriguez Ramirez, and Maria Catherine Encarnacion, have still yet to be captured. Sotheby talked about how the case involved the collaboration of several local, state, and federal agencies. In February 2022, a grand jury in Gilmer returned an indictment against 14 defendants. While 2 suspects have not been identified or arrested, the remaining 9 pleaded guilty before the scheduled trial on May 1st and were given their sentences. Oscar Garcia pleaded guilty to several charges and was sentenced to life. Juan Ayala Rodriguez and Juan Antonio Vega pleaded guilty to kidnapping, concealing the death of another, and aggravated battery. Rodriguez received a life sentence, while Vega was sentenced to 70 years behind bars. Megan Colon, Eva Galicia Martinez, Terry Amanda Garner, Patrick Harvard, Calvin Harvard, and Sean Calloway all pleaded guilty to violating the RICO Act. Cologne was sentenced to 18 years in prison. Martinez received a 13-year sentence, and the other 4 were given undisclosed periods of imprisonment and probation. Number 3. Dating app fraud. On April 6, 2023, Montgomery County Police in Maryland arrested someone in connection to 2 assault cases and a robbery that happened in October 2022. The suspect was 27-year-old Brandon Darrell Kane from Silver Spring, and according to Montgomery County Police, both incidents involved men who discovered Kane through a dating app. The first crime took place on October 10, 2022, and the second happened on October 22nd the same year. Detectives from the Montgomery County Department of Police believed there was a possibility that Kane had other victims as well. Just one day before Kane's official arrest, the Tacoma Park Police in Maryland announced another similar case that took place on April 7, 2023. In this case, the victim also met a male suspect through social media. That person then took him to an isolated place where other suspects were waiting to rob him. The victim followed their demands, and although the suspects were armed with a rifle and a baseball bat, the man wasn't physically harmed. The Tacoma Park Police described the suspects as Hispanic men. One of them was about 5 feet 9 inches tall, thin and cleanly shaven. Kane's first victim met up with an individual named Tommy on a dating app and paid for an Uber to bring him to the victim's house. After a disagreement, Kane physically assaulted the man and took his money. In the second case, the victim met Kane at an undisclosed address, but after getting there, he was abused and his wallet stolen and was forced out of the building. Court records from Maryland show that Kane was arrested by Montgomery County Police around December 28, 2022, for entirely different crimes that happened on October 9th and 22nd, 2022. He faced charges of robbery and first-degree assault in each of them. As of now, Kane has been charged with 2 counts of robbery and 1 count of first-degree assault and is awaiting trial. Number 2. A terrible friend. In June 2019, a woman from Alaska killed her best friend after being promised millions of dollars for filming and taking pictures of the act. 18-year-old Denali Bremer pleaded guilty to killing 19-year-old Cynthia Hoffman on February 15, 2023. She carried out the crime thanks to the promise of $9 million made by an unidentified man she met online who wanted to witness and see evidence of the murder. Reports show that Bremer fatally shot Hoffman in the back of the head and dumped her body in the Eklutna River. The guilty plea was swiftly accepted by Supreme Court Judge Andrew Peterson. Bremer was in a relationship with a man named Tyler, whom she believed to be extremely wealthy and from Kansas. But investigators later found out that Tyler's real identity was Darren Schillmiller, a 21-year-old man living in Indiana. While Bremer was willing to kill Hoffman, she also hired 2 others to help her, Caden McIntosh, then 16 years old, and Caleb Leyland, then 19 years old, with the promise of financial compensation if they did not snitch. The group lured their victim Hoffman to Thunderbird Falls with the promise of a fun and relaxing hiking trip. When they got there, they tied her up and shot her. During the act, Bremer sent pictures and videos to Schillmiller as proof of the crime. Although Schillmiller wanted the victim to also be sexually assaulted, no evidence suggests that it actually happened. After the murder, the group got in touch with Hoffman's family, lying to them about having dropped the woman off at a park, while also destroying some of her personal belongings in an attempt to cover up the crime. Bremer is scheduled for sentencing in August 2023, and the proceedings could last up to 3 days. Many of the charges against her, like conspiracy to commit murder in the first degree, solicitation of murder in the first degree, and 2 charges of murder in the second degree, were later dismissed. Schillmiller, the man who orchestrated the crime, was arrested in August 2019 and charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. He is currently awaiting trial. The charges against McIntosh and Leyland are still pending. Number 1. The murder of a brother. On July 9, 2021, law enforcement in southern Florida made an arrest in connection to a murder case that had been unresolved for over 7 years. The Broward County Sheriff's Office revealed that 62-year-old Darlene Ann Schaffbrock was taken into custody for involvement in the death of her brother, Donald Marks Schaff, who was fatally shot and buried in a backyard. The investigation started when a retired law enforcement officer reached out to a homicide detective named John Churcho in early June. He revealed information about the location of the victim's remains and that the body had been buried in the backyard of a home in Dania Beach. This tip led to Detective Churcho contacting Darlene to arrange an interview and discuss her deceased brother. During the conversation, Darlene told the detective that her brother had been out of the country for years, but she still agreed to do the interview. 1 day later, her attorney cancelled the interview unexpectedly. As investigators and crime scene technicians combed through the property in Dania Beach, they eventually uncovered human remains in the exact location they had been tipped off about. The Broward County Medical Examiner's Office, with the help of an anthropologist, confirmed on July 19th that the remains were from a male victim who had been shot in the back of the head. DNA testing conducted by detectives from the Pinellas County Forensic Lab on August 4th confirmed that the victim was the biological child of Schaffbrock's mother, solidifying the identity of the deceased as Donald Mark Schaff. Based on witness statements and other evidence gathered from the man's skeletal remains, investigators confirmed that Darlene killed her brother before burying his body in the Dania Beach location. They are still looking into possible motives, but witnesses say that financial disputes led to a lot of arguments between the two siblings, and Schaff often accused his sister of stealing money from him before his death. Sheriff's deputies took Darlene Ann Schaffbrock into custody at her home in Tamarack in August 2021. She now faces a first-degree murder charge and is being held without bail as the legal process continues. Which of these tricks seem to be most violent to you? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Bad Badger.